Last Wednesday, we are calling for justice for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic
Mic
check.
check. Mic check. So thank you everybody for tuning in. And tonight we don't have any special guests, and I did that purposely because I want to talk about our event next week and how important it's going to be. And I want to see everybody there, as many of you guys that can come and pack yourselves inside of a church. We're going to be inside, but I'll give you guys more details, and we'll just talk about, you know, other issues that are going on right now. But I want you guys to stay tuned, and we're going to play the video that we play every weekend, and we'll be back. Mic check.
Can't stop.
Won't stop.
Won't stop.
Till killer cops.
Or in cell blocks.
Can't stop.
Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one: concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
it is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it?
Improper way with
There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my driver?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the driver?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Give me a favor, take out your keys. Yeah, you can record me.
For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I want to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is West Wednesday, 507. And that's a very long time to be fighting for anything. But the reason why I selected tonight not to have any guests, because we have a very special West Wednesday in person next week, and I would love for everybody to join. I'm going to actually start sharing even more the flyer and the information. So if you can come on out, come on out. But it's very important because we're going to actually, with my brother Judas, we're going to combine West Wednesday with that very important event. And he always is dedicated year after year to uplift Freddie Gray's memory, to uplift the uprising. So I definitely want to be a part of it. We want to be a part of it as a West Coalition. We definitely, truly want to be a part of this very important event. And it's just sad. And thank you, Ben, for sharing that. Then from the flyers right there. Yeah, so we definitely will be there. We will be in the house. So hopefully you guys can join us. This is very important. And we'll probably be live streaming it as well. So if you can't make it out, we'll be able to put it up so you guys could actually see it. But nothing's like in person, seeing each other type of thing. But the reason why I'm really sad is because I think about what has changed. Like, honestly, what has changed since Freddie Gray was murdered? Literally, like, what has changed? Like, I want to know, like, what are the positive things, the positive change as well as the negative, or, do we see things, being better, or do we see things being worse? And it's kind of like mixed feelings because we've been on like a roller coaster ride, I would say. That's the best way I could describe it, with up and down things, and it's just sad, the thing that really bothers me the most is all the homicides that have happened since the untimely, brutal execution of Freddie Gray, when everybody pulled together as one fight, one purpose, one cause. Everybody got together, literally boots on the ground. I don't care if you was a Muslim, a Christian. I don't care, what your religion, your background, whatever. Everybody got together and said, you know what? That was terrible. Freddie Gray should be here, and things of that nature. And unfortunately, it's just another young Black man just gone, for making eye contact, literally eye contact. And he is murdered. And the part that really breaks my heart is this, and I ain't even gonna say the system is broken, because to me, something that is broke literally was operating or functioning right. But to me, the system never have been functioning right. And I don't know if you guys know, it's a Black conference that is coming up, very important. They kind of mention it on the news just a little bit, but I literally had to learn. I was on my sister Dr. Chi's radio show, and she was talking about this very historical moment. And it's like, why didn't we know about this Black conference? Well, you have a lot of like people that's going to be there. It's like you definitely should have had grassroots boots on the ground. But again, this city selects who they want to be a part of certain things. But I just really feel some type of way because I feel like at the table, everybody should be there. And I saw the mayor briefly talking about it a little bit, and with everything that's happening, And my sister's like, how you didn't know, Tawanda, what was going on? I said, it's so hard just to keep up with everyday life. Like as life is happening and you have your ups and downs, it's a lot of teens being murdered. It's a lot of hurt and it's a lot of pain. So it's a lot to keep up with. And especially if they're not making announcements, it's just sad. And, but literally back to the topic, I just want to know, like, what do you guys think that was different that's working for us? As a thumbs up in our direction or thumbs down that's not working since Freddie Gray. Like I feel like with me, the thumbs down part is the homicide rate. As soon as everybody pulled together, I felt like law enforcement officers felt like, you know what, y'all want to say something wrong, y'all want to bring in a consent decree, we're going to just turn our backs on all of you. And I never was one to consent to anything because at the end of the day, I feel like this paperwork or anything does not stop our brothers and sisters, mothers, uncles, cousins, neighbors, friends, just from being murdered. Like they're just getting murdered and they're trying to make it seem like this is normal. This is not normal situation. This is not normal stuff. They're trying to desensitize us with every day. Like every time my phone ping with late breaking news, it's talking about a teenager. When has it been that a teenager, is all like literally shot up, gunned down, killed somebody? Like all this. It's just too much. First 1 minute you was hearing about the squeegee boys. Everything was the squeegees did this, the squeegees did that. Then that stopped. And I'm like, okay, what's on the agenda next? Now it's our babies. Now it was like even when they were downtown at the Inner Harbor, just hanging out on spring break, nobody got hurt. No incidents or anything. They like was trying to stop and shut them down. They actually shut down different they shut down different restaurants, like wouldn't serve them. And I'm like, wow. And then it's just a lot. Like, and then I know that on the holiday on Easter or whatever, they said like 2 teenagers were shot. But I mean, at the end of the day, that could be anywhere. It's just like when people want you to see and focus on certain things, they will make that the headline news, and that's all you'll see. That's all you'll focus on. And it's just sad. Like the focus should be on trying to better and love on our kids. And then as we just, as Annapolis just sat down a lot of bills, didn't make it to the House. A lot of bills landed on our governor's desk. And things like that. But I feel like these politicians that's not doing nothing, we need to get them out of office. Like this is sad. It's beyond the Doug and Pony show. I look at our sister Jill Carter, who's been fighting like hell. Senator Jill Carter has been fighting like hell to push bills, to push legislation, to try to do what she can do best as a human, to not only protect our babies, just to be fair and transparent, just everything, like families that are suffering from losses, just different things. But it's almost like a fight that's impossible. You got a lot of people that just set bills on the table and let them die. Like they need to go. Or they'll promote what they want to promote. They'll promote mass incarceration and things of that nature. Cory McCray, he's big on that, But the stuff that we really need to do and promote, nobody's promoting it, but a few people. And a few people cannot hold the torch. A few people can't. You could try, you could do your best, but at the end of the day, it boils down to what's right and what's wrong. And so a lot of things to me that has been wrong since Freddie Gray, I feel like it's like we're going through, again, the Doug and Pony show. They'll make it seem like we won this, we did that. But meanwhile, people are still getting murdered. People are still dying. Like now they're trying to bring back everything that they took away that they knew wasn't right. Like, it's like, okay, now we're going to bring it back. They said from the beginning that unmarked police cars, unmarked officers, they wasn't going to be allowed. They're already back. They're in vans, they're in trucks, they're in all type of stuff. They've been back. But like, so ain't nothing. Like, it's just sad. And then I was a big one on supporting like the cameras being on the officers and things like that before I knew that you could see what happened, and still nothing happens. Like nothing gets done. And I always used to wonder, even though I know that there is video footage, because witnesses videoed the brutal murder of my brother, the brutal execution of my brother. And I'm praying that we get it. And it's said that I got to pray for a sick video. But the way the world is set up, if you guys don't see something, you don't believe it. I don't care if witnesses said that he was beat by so many officers, murdered. You guys are not going to believe it until you see it. I don't ever want to see my brother getting executed, ever, ever. But it's just said in order to have a national outcry, a national, outpour of support, that they have to see something horrible, and that's terrible. Instead of them seeing a family, a coalition fighting for going on 10 years, and I know that you can't recreate the will, because I know before my brother was murdered, you had a lot of families, a lot of activists, a lot of people out there fighting for their loved ones and fighting for us not to go through what we're going through. I'm not saying nothing makes me special, nothing makes me different or the West Coalition different, but the fact, if you want to see something, to do something on that note. Like, do something on the fact that when, they came to a settlement, I said, you know what, this is unsettling. I'm not going to settle. You know what I mean? I'm not going to settle. Take my name off to make sure that my brother, children, and family is okay. But I'm going to call these murderers out. Yes, I am. And it's just saying, then, like, we got laws changed, because at the end of the day, when someone gets murdered, they should get civil money. Like, money should come into play, and it's not about the income, it's about the outcome. That's what people forget. But if you're taking me away from being a supporter of my family, you better take care of my children, because you took me away. So what does that have to do with, putting these killer cops in a cell block? They want, like I say, write somebody a bloody check, send everybody on their way, and that's it. And I feel like all the overwhelming evidence is enough to make it say, you know what, this is a civil case. That should be enough for evidence to put these killer cops in a cell block. That's where I'm at, and that's where I've always been. I always say, reopen these cases, and put these killer cops in a cell block. And it's like I always say, and I shouldn't have to say it, I'm not anti-police, I'm anti-police brutality. That's a big difference. But when you see a group of people hanging together, doing the same thing, nobody stepping up saying this is wrong, that makes them bad. I'm sorry, that makes them bad. If I sat back and I'm with my co-teachers and I see a child in my classroom getting abused, and I sat there and I don't say nothing, I turn the other cheek, that makes me a bad teacher too. It's just sad. Like, that makes me bad too. And I just said all that to say, like, it is sad that literally since Freddie Gray been murdered, since everybody pulled together, and I really feel like, honestly, we're probably on the brink of another uprising, because nothing has changed. Like, babies are getting murdered, like nothing has changed. And God forbid that, because I don't want that happening. I don't want to see things burn down. But when you're in a city that cares more about property, cares more about animals than they care about human beings, that's sad. That's disgusting. That is disgusting. And it's just sad, like, the people that have the power to do something always send you in a circle. They send you in a circle. They do nothing. And it's not because they can't do it. They don't want to be the person that do it, because then now they're looked upon and frowned at about doing something that's right. And that's terrible. I wouldn't even want to be on. That's why when everybody be like joking, oh, you the mayor, I wouldn't. If it takes me being a mayor to go through corruption and all that stuff, or to tuck my tail in, I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, if I don't have anything else, I'm going to always have my respect, and I'm going to always have my integrity. You cannot write a check big enough for me to sell my family out, my supporters out, anybody out. But it's a lot of people, like I said, that get complicit and complacent with monetary supplement, and they just sell everybody out. They will get you set up for 2 pennies, not $1 billion, not $1 million, 2 cents. And it's more so a lot of jealousy out here that's happening right now, and a lot of hate, and a lot of people are mad and disappointed. It's a lot of weird stuff that I've been seeing going through. I just made a post like, the enemy has been busy all day. All I could do was just sit back, smile, and just keep it moving. Because at the end of the day, not gonna let people block my blessings by them being ignorant. I'm just gonna block them out as much as I can. I'm just gonna block them out because I don't have time for it. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to enjoy life. And most importantly, I'm trying to get accountability so that everybody can enjoy life. And when I say enjoy life, we should not have to worry about if we get pulled over or if the police is called that someone is getting murdered because the officer had a bad day or they want to take their anger out on somebody. And that's not saying all officers do that, because all officers don't. But the ones that do that, they need to be held accountable. And at this point, nobody's being held accountable. It's just sad. And I just really feel sorry, for just all of us. At the end of the day, we have too much to worry about. Like, we're worrying about every 5 minutes hearing about somebody getting murdered. And we know bullets don't have a name. We know that any moment something can knock on your door and change your life forever. Because let me tell you, we didn't even get that call when my brother was murdered. But when I got that call when my cousin Tavon Anderson was murdered, gunned down in cold blood, that call changed my life. Me finding out what happened to my brother, that changed my life forever. It's just sad and sickening. It's just like too much. And to me, that's not what life's about. Life is about pure, helping each other out, being respectful, being responsible. And as much as, like I said, you can help somebody, help them. Don't judge them, help them. If you don't want to help, that's fine. Keep it moving, but don't point fingers. Because remember, when you point a finger at one person, you have about 3 or 4 pointed at you. And like I said, I just want everybody to come out next week to Judah's event. It's it has always been profound to me. Like last year, he did something that it was dealing with like people writing books and things of that nature. And I chose the book that I was featured in. That's our governor book, 5 Days. And if you haven't read that book, I urge you to go out and get it, because the thing that really touched me before Westmore became the governor, that he actually reached out to me, and I will always be forever humble for that, to uplift my brother's name, like to uplift my story. He said, look, I know about Freddie, but I really want to uplift Tyrone's name. I see you, sister. Man, you done been on many town hall events, all that. Sitting together, I done heard you talk about your brother numerous times and what happened wrong and all that stuff. I hear you. I want the world to hear you, and I appreciate that. But right now, the biggest appreciation would be, and I'm not asking nobody to bend no rules, to do nothing dirty. I'm asking everybody to do their job. Put these killer cops in a cell block. They should have been in a cell block damn near 10 years ago. Because at the end of the day, justice delayed is justice denied. I'm sorry, what you say? Ben, you say something?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, sorry. But like I was saying, sorry guys, but like I was saying, justice delayed is justice denied. And what happens when you delay a process that's simple, they're waiting for witnesses to die off. I know this. They're waiting for, and the first thing, even if you get a killer cop, you can get them 6 months after they killed them, get the speedy trial, all that. The first thing that they do when they get on that stand is say, you know what? I don't recall. They get dressed up in their most beautiful suit that they can wear. They're very respectful. They're not the same maniacs or animals. Like I done seen Ruiz, and we sat inside of courtroom numerous times. When he attacked Abdul Salam, I was there for that trial. Even when I had to sit and look at these stinking animals through the motion of discovery phase, as they come in with the same damn attorney that represents all the devils. The FOP appoints this one attorney or whatever, or a main attorney that literally knows that these are bad guys, and they will stand up there and fight for them and say all type of disrespectful stuff. I remember they had the nerve in Abdul Salam case, and in case you don't know who Abdul Salam is, he was featured in that video that we showed you. His baby was in the back seat of his car in his driveway when Killer Ruiz was the first one again to come and pull him out and start attacking him, threaten everybody in the neighborhood. That's his MO. That's what he do. But the fact that the attorney representing him had the nerve to sit up there and say, oh, they're trying to make it seem like, Ruiz is like the big bad wolf. He's not. They just want attention. Like, I could have lost it in the courtroom setting. I'm not even going to lie. I could have lost everything, like just jumping up saying, like, who y'all think y'all playing with? But I didn't. I held my composure. And through these things, you have to hold your composure no matter how hard it is, no matter how disrespectful it is, no matter what. You have to hold your composure, control your emotions to actually try to let the, court procedures go on. And it's just sad and disgusting. But the fact that these killers, all they do is just go to civil trials. They never get held accountable to actually go and get charged to a criminal case and be actually charged and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's what I'm looking for. That's what all the families are looking for. And I seen yesterday, one of my sisters, her son was Dante. He pretty much was murdered right after George Floyd, with the killer officer literally pulled out her gun instead of the taser and murdered that baby. Yesterday marked the 2-year commemoration. And that is disgusting. And literally, she got time, but guess what? She's about to be coming home. She's probably home now. She only got 2 years to serve. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you're going to actually pull, like you go to your training, I guarantee you she wouldn't have pulled a gun out on her family member. It was just sad. Like, they were so mad that everybody was out in the streets, with the George Floyd, that it's like when they hear about national cases, they get so mad. So that's all that they probably be talking about. And I don't care if it's not even in their state or whatever that the crime happens in, but it's just like topic, I guess, when they go to roll call, when they're checking in, to go to roll call, getting counted in the morning before they go on duty, they probably be like, oh, we got to watch out for the George Floyds. We got to watch. And then that pisses them off. So now they running around with an S on their chest. They running around with a freaking S on their chest. Now their badge comes above the law, and then now they're pissed. And you pull a young man, a baby over, talking about because he had insects hanging. Incense. The little trees hanging inside of his window. That was the reason to pull him over and then murder him, like, for nothing. And then I'd be remiss if I never ever stop talking about Darnell Rochester. A baby, an 18-year-old baby that should have been graduating from high school by now, should have been probably in Hollywood somewhere, because he was a born star, as his family say. He had so much of skills and talents. I'm talking about gunned down in cold blood, and then they let him bleed out and suffer out. And they did the same thing that they did to my brother. They let Darnell Rochester, and he was killed by officers from Northeast Police District. And a lot of those maniacs from the Gun Trace Task Force came out of that same corrupt district. And it's just sad and disgusting. And not mainly Ruiz was a part of that Gun Trace Task Force. When we carry you off of this West Wednesday, look at the end. Look at Mr. Thompson when he said he's breaking in my house, asking me about where the drugs, where the scales. He's talking about Ruiz, and he said he was a part of the Gun Trace Task Force. And I'll never forget when I got my vehicle back 2 weeks later, because they kept playing the Dog and Pony show, let my vehicle accumulate all these fines just to come tell me some foolishness and say, oh, to take it down to the pound and let it accumulate footage. But meanwhile, they say, oh, we found a little bit of drugs in your vehicle, Miss Jones. So you're never going to see your vehicle again. Because what happens is they'll tear that vehicle completely. They're going to gut your vehicle. And I'm like, I don't give a damn about a vehicle. All I care is about, my only reason why I want my vehicle back is because I need to go and make moves for my big brother. I can give a damn about that vehicle. I can always get another vehicle, but I can't get my big brother back. I can't get my big brother. Y'all can't give me him back. So I don't give a damn about a vehicle. The whole time, no drugs never were tested, never submitted, never found. And out the own killer, Ruiz's mouth, who said, oh, Mr. West tossed some drugs. Out of his mouth, when asked on the stage, when he was sworn in on the stand in the courtroom, he said, oh, I heard about it on the news. I don't know where. And then Chapman, his partner, his killer partner, that participated in the brutal execution of my brother as well, with the other 15 maniacs, pretty much said, oh yeah, I thought I heard somebody say it. Like, what? But when my attorneys went down there to go apprehend, so they wanted to test what you guys had, that you're saying that he had a bulge or whatever. Was it cocaine? Was it crack? Was it heroin? Whatever it was, let me test it and submit it. Let me get one of my people to test it and submit it. You know, go through the chain of command. And apparently they didn't follow the chain of command because there was nothing. There was no drugs. You know, and then the fact that, you know, our state's attorney, Marilyn Mosley, at the time just left me hanging in the new. All she said was, get me new evidence, Miss Jones. You get me new evidence. I'll sit down with your family and I will, you know, see what I can do. If you know, if justice needs to be applied, I'm gonna apply pressure. I'm gonna do what I got. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And what does she do? Turn her back. That was the Doug and Pony show. I'm wondering if my information is still sitting on the attorney's desk, just riding. Is it going through sitting there while Ivan Bates? Because I turned in evidence, like new evidence. Whereas though I got my brother's body dug up out the ground. I had 3 people to tell me my brother was murdered, despite the foolishness that the medical examiner's office did here lying. So I said all this to say that we have to stick with each other and remember there's one purpose, one cause, one fight. Instead of us knocking down each other, you know, just by hatred. Like I literally this morning woke up to a bunch of hate messages you know, from somebody, and it ain't even important. I don't even care. I had to just like laugh and block the person. But it's just sad, like, really? But when people don't love their self, they spread hate. I'm not the one to ever spread hate because I love myself and I love all of you guys. So nobody's going to stop me. I don't care who they are. No one is going to stop me from doing the right things. At the end of the day, I sleep really good at night because I know that I made the right choice. I don't have nothing to run or to hide from. I ain't do nobody wrong. I sleep good knowing that no matter what I do and everything I do, I give it my best. If I can help somebody out with just a near conversation of, hey, like I heard one of my co-teachers, she was going through the struggle. And I'm like, you know, we both were on break and we're in the teacher's lounge. And I heard her and she was talking about having car issues because she had went to the admission spot, and long story short, she was looking for a good mechanic to fix the issue, and she was calling around. I just could hear because she had a phone on loud, and I could hear them kind of like saying, "Oh, well, we got to put it on a diagnosis machine. We're going to charge you this amount." But I remember with my own situation when I went through a similar situation. And I had these 2 good mechanics, like honest, that been working on my car. I'm like, let me help out. I'm like, I don't mean to be in your conversation, queen, but instead of you paying $200 or $300 just to get your machine, your stuff looked at, let me put you on with these guys. And these guys told her they were only going to charge her $50. And then on top of that, whatever the problem was, they was going to take that off of the bill on whatever she needed to do with her car. That's called helping each other. Sharing is caring. You know, that's what it's about. It ain't about none of that. You can just help somebody with saying the right things, just being there, or just sometimes listening. You ain't even got to say anything. I saw a lady outside of a CVS yesterday. You know, she was asking for money. Everybody in the store was talking about, oh my goodness, she out there asking for this and that. I didn't even have any cash. But I literally was like, you know what? When I paid for my object, even though I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, and my change is beyond strange right now. You know, I'm doing fundraisers, all that. But I felt compelled, even if it was $5, let me see if I can't, you know, ask for $5 back to give this lady because she said she wanted something to eat. Who am I to judge her to say she great, use that money to get her? Foolishness. Either you're going to help somebody or you're not. If you don't do something from your heart, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do something and throw it back up in somebody's face, because then that means you were phony. That means that you had a personal motive to do that, and it wasn't from your heart. Because guess what? Anybody that ever loved me and anybody that I ever loved, that I done anything for, I will never, ever throw anything back up in their face. I will never do that. It's not right. It's not healthy. It's just not right. Why do it if you're going to throw it back up in their face? Why do it if you're going to, somebody tell you something in confidence, you know, confidentiality, you go back and you telling everybody? Like, no, I can't. I don't roll like that. And it's just sad. And it's just sad so many people roll like that. So many people got personal agendas, personal hidden agendas. They'll befriend you. They'll be by your side. They could be with you for years, but they will have personal agendas. And then as soon as things don't go their way, bam. But that's why I guess it's called relationships. The ships keep moving. Don't let your ship sink. Don't brighten or dim it. I'm sorry, don't dim your light to brighten somebody else. And a lot of times in life, because we feel like, oh, if I talk about myself, when you should praise yourself. There's nothing wrong with if God bless you with something or you did something good to speak upon yourself. Because guess what? Sometimes you could be your only supporter. You know, it's nothing wrong with that. But when you get around a person and they start making you feel like they're not smiling with you, guess what? Something ain't right. Something ain't right, because you're supposed to be happy when somebody else is happy. And if you're around people that's not happy when you get blessed, nah, you don't find some other people to be around. Matter of fact, be around yourself. Make your own self happy. Love and live to love, but love yourself first. Because if you can't love yourself first, you'll never be able to love anyone. So I know I went on. I'm rambling at this point, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to know what went on good since Freddie Gray was murdered, and what has happened that we don't see any good in it at all. So I'm gonna check in with our brother Marcellus, just to check in real quick to see if we have any questions, which I see a lot. Like our board is lit up, so I'm gonna check in with our brother Marcellus. Mic check.
Mic check.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Awesome.
All right. So you have a few comments. Bruce on YouTube says mic check. Bill on Facebook says mic check. Gigi says mic check. Bill says true, the system has never worked right. Judah says mic check. Good evening, everyone. Linda says mic check. Bill says thumbs down because this racist system is still in place. Thumbs up because we're not giving up in the struggle for a better world. And Gigi says thumbs up, the move to get the word out. Popular education is key. A lot of people don't understand the connections. The West Wednesday Coalition is a part of the vanguard by agitating people to act. JHU sit-in says facts. Judah says black children aren't allowed to work downtown. They aren't allowed to play downtown. They aren't allowed to patronize businesses downtown. They aren't allowed to exist in their own city. And JHU sit-in says television. Linda says thumbs up that Michael Owens is charged with the murder of William Green in PG County. Thumbs down that prosecutors and defense seem to be on the same side. Now trying to move venue from PG. JHU says, right, they need to give us all cameras, F the cops. Gigi says, thumbs down the Black Miss Leadership class. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Ivan Bates, Westmore, Brandon Scott. All those who remain silent are lapdogs for white supremacy and capitalism. Bill says, right, Gigi. Bill says, yes, those killer cops should have been put in cell blocks years ago. Gigi says, that's right, enough flattery, and I appreciate you. Do your damn job. JHU says, facts, the delays are justice denied. MDGA and the prosecutors. Bruce Reed. Judah says, Tawanda, I'm honored and excited to partner with the West Wednesday Coalition for our Rise Be More event next Wednesday, April 19th. We will have West Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 at 2640 space, 2640 Street, St. Paul Street at 7:30. We'll stop to open the doors for our show in memory of Freddie Gray, which starts at 8 p.m. There's plenty of street parking in the area. Don't hesitate to reach out to me directly with any questions. I appreciate you all. Hillary says it is time for Westmore to follow up and lift up Tyrone's name, again by pushing for the case to be reinvestigated and the officers to be held accountable. Judah, replying to Hillary, says, agreed, Hillary. Governor Moore's book and his photo with a Tyrone West mask won't mean anything if he doesn't do something now that he has power. JHU says there's things Mosby could still do now and maybe even more now that she's out. Big ups, spread love. Linda is saying waiting to see if the so-called progressives that got elected after rallies would do anything about mass incarceration and Owen's case. Not holding my breath in PG County. JHU says big facts, big ups. Angela says mic check. And Gigi says, where can people find a flyer for April 19th? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mike check.
Mic check. Thank you guys for so much of feedback. Definitely appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Yes, and the flyer will be the flyer was actually shared on my page by Judas, but if you want to find the flyer, you can look on Judas' page, but I will be definitely sharing, and there's the flyer right there. Rise West Wednesday. Yeah, so I can't wait for this event next week. I'm excited. I wish I could forward the time and we be right there right now, but we can't. So yeah, but I wanted to check in as well as with the West Coalition members that are in the green room right now to see if anybody wants to add on, to the conversation before we actually go to our sad lists and whatnot, even though we're not. Right now, we're in a space where we're not going to actually read the names. We're going to uphold everybody. But I'm feeling kind of sad because I do like reading everybody's name. And I know that, we're never going to be in a perfect world. We can get something right. But I just did definitely kind of miss, lifting up their names because I just really feel like, it's just sad that. But I'm just mad because we can't lift up everybody's name. That's the part that kind of stopped us a little bit from saying the names, but we'll work it out, figure it out. We'll be back to you on that note. But I wanted to again check in to see if anybody wants to say what they see different and what's working, thumbs up, and what's not working, thumbs down. Mic check.
Mike check.
Mic check.
Hi.
I want to tell a little story and then bring it back to police brutality. Last week, many of you may remember that the state said that Baltimore City has to add another $80 million into the public schools above and beyond what they were planning to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And Mayor Scott said to find that money and to put us in that position is a gut punch. So I want to disagree with the mayor on that question. If we look back at the history of systemic racism in Baltimore, we find that before the killing of Martin Luther King and before the rebellion that followed his death, the majority of students in the city schools were white. And at that time, out of 24 school districts in Maryland, we were near the top in money per student. We were number 4 out of 24 districts. After Martin Luther King was killed and a lot of white people and some black people left the city, the schools very rapidly became predominantly African American, and by 1974. And during those years, we went from near the top in funding to near the bottom. We went down to number 21 out of 24. And in those days before King was killed, the city used to spend between 20% and 40% of its budget, this is Baltimore City, on education, on the public schools. Guess what they spend now? Just 11%. This is the history of racism in the city and the underfunding of the schools. The state's guilty and the city's also guilty of underfunding our schools. Now, how does this relate to police brutality? When you have a system that denies people a decent education, I would say we have educational genocide in the city. And when you create a lot of students graduating with a low skill set because the schools are not doing what they need to do, you create a society split into the haves and the have-nots. And then the police force has as its task maintaining the status quo, to keep people who are denied a decent life, to keep them in their place, to brutalize them when necessary, just like the slave patrols used to do when people would rebel or escape or fight back. They would brutalize them publicly to set an example. Don't anyone else do this. And in my opinion, that's why we see so much police brutality, police murder, excessive use of force, because they're maintaining a very unequal, a very racist system. And they're taking that out on people that they want to control and keep in a poor set of circumstances. So I just wanted to add that when Mayor Scott says it's a gut punch to have to spend slightly more than 11% of the city budget to uplift our young people with a better education, he's wrong. It should be much, much more of the city's resources that's going into education. And he's got a lot of nerve calling it a gut punch to have to come up with a little bit. So I just wanted to add that this evening.
Thank you. That was very important. That was good information. I appreciate it. Since we're talking about gut punch, the gut punch always for me, and that's the gut punch that knock you off your feet, is when you overly fund these killer cops. That's the gut punch, sir. But yes, I wanted to also check in and see if our brother Brian wanted to add to the conversation before we actually go to the sad list, or do anyone else? Our brother Ben, mic check.
Mic check. I don't have a lot to add to what you've already said, Twanda. Bill's comments are certainly worth knowing, but I didn't bring a whole lot to today. I've been having a slow week.
Awesome. So real quick before we go to the sad lists and whatnot, I wanted to see if our brother Marcellus was still in queue, because I see additional questions and comments on Facebook. I'm not sure about the YouTube, but I wanted to check in to see if he could actually read those. Mic check.
Mic check. Judah says beautiful image designed by Ben. The West Wednesday page says follow us on Facebook. Bruce says West Wednesday 508 will take place on Wednesday, April 19 from 6:30 to 7:30 at 2640 Space, which is 2640 St. Paul Street. Gigi says, preach, Bill. The city and state can find the money, but they'd rather Africans in prison as cheap labor. JHU says, thumbs up. We still here. Thumbs down to all the politicians. Thumbs down violent racism, capitalism. Violence, racism, capitalism. Thumbs up. West Coalition and making gains. Linda says, even in wealthy Montgomery County, the funding of predominantly Black and Latin schools is less than over in Rockville, etc. Teachers unions need to make more demands here. And JHU says, killer cops in cell blocks and they owe back their salary and benefits. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you so much. Thank you, my brother, for sharing those questions. And thank you guys for all your feedback. Love you all. So yeah, I'll check in with our brother Brian just to see the count and if he want to share words of enlightenment. And last week he did, like every week, him and Uncle Bill always do an amazing job, like adding their comments before they actually go to the list for the numbers, because we really need to know what's going on, even though we're not going to get all the numbers accurately week after week, but just want to check in with our brother Brian. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Twanda. Yeah, I don't, as I said, I didn't plan to say a whole lot this week. I don't, I look at the list of people who have been, reported to be killed in Baltimore. And this week, since our last West Wednesday, there have been 9 people killed by violence in Baltimore. And I just ask us to hold them up in our lives and in our minds. Each of those persons was somebody's world. Each of those persons was everything to someone else, whether it was their mother, their father, their wife, their husband, their children. Just someone loved that person, and that is something that deserves our respect and deserves our fight, and it deserves, you know, the fight against violence in this evil empire that we live in is important, because each of those persons deserves our respect and our compassion and everything we can do for them. And to have a life snuffed out for whatever reason or lack of reason is just a complete shame. And so I just ask us all to take time and hold those lives in our hearts. And, you know, as Tawanda says, if you pray, but whatever you do, think of that loss and let that push you to fight against every single loss that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really good. Thank you. And I love it because you always come from a place of compassion, and that's your heart, and it's always sincere. So just wanted to thank you for that, Brother Brian. So I want to check in with Uncle Bill for the police brutality list. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
So, as I mentioned before, these numbers come from the Washington Post. They keep a site called Fatal Force. I think they started it shortly after Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson. And they claim that they have a much more accurate list than the FBI, because the FBI doesn't pursue all the cases in terms of just keeping track. And they've said that there are about 1,100 police killings each year. 2022 was the worst year ever. It had a somewhat higher number. And the 1,100 per year equals about 3 police killings a day. And that's exactly what happened in the current period since we reported last week at West Wednesday. So the new numbers on that site go from April the 5th, where the police killed someone in Houston, Texas, to April the 10th. And during those 5 or 6 days, they stole 16 more lives, which is almost exactly 3 a day. So it pains me to say that, but it's the reality of this ghastly number. All right, that's my report for this evening. Mic check.
A mic check. Thank you so much for that. Definitely appreciate it. And again, you always say the right things, and it always comes from a place of love. So, guys, unfortunately, and we don't know the numbers, and I think we'll probably never ever really know a number. But the fact that someone loved one, whether it was on our police brutality list or our community violence list, a life was lost, a life was snatched away. This wasn't an act of God, if you believe in God. This was pure, like, hurt, pure, like, oh my God, I can't explain it. Words can't explain it. It's just when that call that you get, if you're good enough to get a call, it changes your life forever. And it don't just change one family member, it changes the whole entire family. And for me, literally, to hear on the news, which I don't like watching, but I watch it for the weather and just to keep up on current events, but literally at a funeral, and I believe it was in DC, you know, they're there to show love and respect for, I believe the victim was like a 24-year-old, but they were there to memorialize, and they're grieving everybody. You can imagine the pain and seeing somebody for their last time, you know, and what you feel when you go to a funeral. If you've ever been to a funeral, it's sad, it's heartbreaking, it's devastating. But the part that breaks my heart, you will have somebody to come and shoot up a funeral. These are the times, unfortunately, that we're in now. This is not normal. This is not right. So I just want to take 2 minutes, regardless if your loved one or if anyone loved one. These are our loved ones because these are human and we love people. And nobody deserves to be brutally murdered. No one. No one. No one deserves that. And for that to be happening over and over to make it seem like it's normal, it's not. So if you're one that pray, please say a prayer. If you're not, that's okay as well. Send positive, spirits, whatever you believe in, or just positive energy, right here in this space that we're in right now. We're going to take 2 minutes or whatever you want to do that's positive to uplift these victims that we don't even know their name. To imagine, oh my goodness, if this was my loved one, how would I feel? And most importantly, what can we do collectively as one body, one force, one fight to actually slow it down? Because I promise you we'll never be able to completely stop evil. But what can we do to slow it down? It would be honestly great if we could stop it. But unfortunately, some things are out of our hand. So let's take 2 minutes. If you pray, say a prayer. If not, send positive energy and just think, oh my God, these are loved ones. These are loved ones, guys. This is someone loved one. Mic check. 2 minutes starting now. Thank you guys so much. We know that 2 minutes is not long enough at all. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And I would love to see you guys next week at Judy's event. Please, if you can join us. If you can't join us in person, please definitely tune in. You don't want to miss it. I'm highly honored to share the wonderful space with our brother to actually do West Wednesday for that first hour. And then it will right into Freddie Gray's event. And never, ever forget Freddie Gray. Never, ever forget any of our loved ones. Tyrone West, Timothy Flemings, the list goes on. Unfortunately, the same way we brought you in with the painful video of one of the first killers, our focus right now, Ruiz, we're going to unfortunately have to take you guys out with the second half of that video. But in all of this, remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all. See you guys in person next West Wednesday. Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5. Unidentified arrestee. Assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salon vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Adina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.